So as I was editing this video, it was very, very long, and I just began to realize that I kind of had two different stories going on, so I decided to split them up into two separate videos. So that's why in this video, as well as the next one about me changing my major, those are gonna have a couple clips of me that are in a different outfit. So sorry for the confusion. I hope that you can just bear with me. Hey guys, I'm Mackenzie King from A Cup of Life. I make videos about my faith in hopes that they will encourage you guys in your own faith journey. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below this video so that you won't miss any more videos from me. If you have already been here before, you may notice that there's something different here. I've had a couple people just kind of reach out to me and say, hey, have you ever thought about doing a backdrop behind your videos so that we're not looking at the back of your door all the time? So I took that into consideration. This behind me, it's just a piece of fabric, but I thought it would be really fitting because this fabric is from Zambia. It's called a shitenge. It's a piece of material that you wrap around you as a skirt or a covering. A lot of African countries use these on a daily basis, especially when you're going into villages and areas where it's a little bit more conservative. Wearing a shitenge is just a sign of respect. So I figured, hey, this would be a good backdrop for my videos. If you like this new backdrop, you can let me know by clicking the thumbs up button below this video. So this is the second video in my series called God's Perfect Timing. The first video in this series is about Paul's direction change and how God called him to go to Macedonia instead of preaching in the two areas before that. If you haven't watched the first video in this series, you can follow this link right here, and I'm gonna leave it down below as well. So I would encourage you to go watch that first, just because it's going to give some more background information about the series. In this video, I'm going to be sharing the story of how God changed my direction when I was choosing colleges to go to. Since the beginning of high school, or maybe even since middle school, I really felt called to be a nurse. And in high school, we did like a day of job shadowing. It was a requirement, and I shadowed a medical professional because that was just really interesting to me, and I really felt like that was the path that God was taking me down. During my sophomore year, I heard about a school called Anderson University in Anderson, Indiana. I did a bunch of research on it, and for any of you that do know me, I'm a complete music nerd. I'm in choir, band, everything, all the way throughout school. And Anderson had an amazing choir that I really wanted to be a part of. They also had a really great nursing program there. So for my whole sophomore, junior year, this really became the school for me. Like, I was totally sold on it. But the problem was that my parents and I had kind of discussed college before. They wanted me to go to a community college for 2 years and then transfer somewhere. And although I knew that it would save us money, I really felt like I was supposed to go away for all 4 years. So by the time junior year rolled around, I was begging my parents to at least look at schools. I wasn't telling them, hey, I'm leaving for 4 years, but I just wanted the opportunity to at least search and see what was out there, see what was the right fit for me. And finally, during my senior year, we did go look at 6 schools. I looked at Illinois State University, Illinois Wesleyan University, St. Ambrose, Olivet, Anderson, and Indiana Wesleyan University. So at this point, I'm only thinking of Anderson University. I just wanted to make my parents happy by giving myself some other options, but my heart and my mind were totally set on Anderson. That was where I was gonna go. So because Anderson University and Indiana Wesleyan University are so close, they're within like 35 or 40 minutes from each other. In order for my parents to allow me to go see Anderson, they wanted to make sure that that trip was worthwhile since we were driving about 4 hours. So I literally typed into Google, good nursing schools in Indiana. Again, I'm totally set on Anderson, going there for nursing, gonna be in the choir, it's gonna be great. But through that simple Google search, I found Indiana Wesleyan. It was the first school that popped up. So I said, sure, we're gonna go visit this one, but I don't really care about this school. I wanna go to Anderson. And when we went on that trip, we actually went to Indiana Wesleyan first. We got on campus. It was a long drive. It's about 4.5 hours from my home. And oh gosh, I'm getting emotional just thinking about this because it was just a really cool day. But it was that moment of feeling like I was home. I instantly knew that that was where I was supposed to be. But then there's that struggle in my heart because I'm like, no, what about Anderson? I have had my heart set on this school for like 2 years. And we did go to Anderson the next day, and God made it so clear that Anderson was not the right fit for me. It's not a bad school at all. It's a great school. It just wasn't the right place for me. I just think it's funny how God works sometimes, because I never would have even heard about Indiana Wesleyan had I not have been looking for another school around the area where Anderson was at. Sometimes we're blinded by the things that we want to do rather than focusing on the things that God wants us to do. So in Paul's case, he and Silas wanted to preach in 2 different areas, but God stopped them and instead sent them to Macedonia. In my case, I was so focused on going to Anderson University that I was completely blindsided by Indiana Wesleyan. And just like with Paul, God sent a vision to him to get him back on the right path. And for me, it was when I was just searching for another school to go visit to make my parents happy, but in the long run, I ended up actually finding the school that God wanted me to go to. As I was getting towards the end of my college search, I had narrowed it down to Olivet and Indiana Wesleyan University. I did initial visits at each of them, and then I also did an overnight at both of those schools. And I did my overnight at Indiana Wesleyan first. When my parents picked me up in the morning, I got in the car, and as soon as they asked me how it went, I just started bawling because we hadn't really decided that I was gonna go away for all 4 years. So at that point, I was so distraught because I knew that I was supposed to be at IWU, and just knowing that that might not actually happen, even after I put myself through all of this. So then I did my overnight at Olivet, and literally within like 2 hours of being on campus, going around on tours and everything, it was very clear that that was also not the school for me. I did still spend the night just to give it a chance to make sure. I actually had an audition for the choir at Olivet. I actually skipped my audition because it was so clear that I wasn't supposed to be at Olivet. So happy news, my parents did let me go away for all 4 years, which took a little bit of talking through all of that, but it was just really clear to all of us that God was calling me to Indiana Wesleyan. I chose IWU specifically over Olivet just because their nursing program was a lot bigger, and they were in the process of building this new nursing building, and it was just the obvious choice for me. Again, I'm not putting Olivet down in any way. I have a bunch of great friends that went to Olivet, and I think Olivet is a great school, but IWU was just, it was where I was supposed to be, and God made that so clear to me. So if you are on your college search, I just encourage you to pray and ask God to make that decision clear for you, because I know that it can be a struggle when you're between a couple schools and it's just hard to weigh your options. So just ask God to make that clear to you. And for any of you that are in the middle of a direction change, or maybe you're anticipating a change in your life, or just futuristically, like we all go through change, I just want to encourage you that when these seasons arise, seek hard after God, because we think that we know the desires of our heart, when in reality, God's the one that knows the desires of our heart. When we're in line with God's will and the path that He wants us on, our desires are going to become the desires that He has for us. If we're not careful, we could really miss out on something amazing that God has planned for us. If we're too focused on the things that we want or the places that we want to go, and He's crying out to us, no, wait, that's not what I have for you. Guys, we would miss out on so much. So I would just encourage you, seek hard after God, and your desires are gonna line up with the desires that He has for you. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope that this was encouraging to you, and make sure that you share this with someone else who needs to hear it today.